using air primarily was known to this White House, and I will tell you also to the State Department. They both had different reasons, the State Department and the White House, for wanting Israel to do it, encouraging them to do it, supporting them. Our Air Force worked very closely with the Israeli Air Force for months before this, not necessarily with a deadline, knowing when it would happen. It was always going to be whenever there was an incident, they would take advantage of an incident. The word I used was fortunate timing. When Hezbollah grabbed some of the Israeli soldiers in early July, that was then a pretext, I think that's the only word, for a major offensive that had been in the works a long time. The State Department always viewed what Israel was going to do, Condi Rice and her colleagues, as a way to stabilize. Going after Hezbollah would stabilize the Lebanese government and give them a chance on the 1559 to take control. The White House, I write in this article, talking about specifically about Cheney's office, sort of center for the neocons, their view was different. Israel's attack on Hezbollah was going to be sort of a model, prototype. That is a lot of air against the dug-in underground facility. You know, everything in southern Lebanon that Hezbollah had was underground. For them, it was going to be a test run for the bombing and the attack they really want to do, probably next year if they can. I'm not saying they've decided, but they want to go after Iran. And Iran, of course, the Persians have been dug in since, what, the 11th century. So we know it's a tough call.
Because they're saying that these Hersh conspiratorial theories are so far-fetched, they're rejecting them out of hand, especially this notion that what the Israelis have done now in Lebanon against Hezbollah is a prelude, a test run, if you will, for what the U.S. hopes to do against Iranian targets in Iran. And I want you to explain the nature of your sources, if you can. I know you have confidential sources. How good these sources are that are making this spectacular accusation.
You know, when I did Abu Ghraib, the same kind of stuff was thrown at me, that I'm fantasizing, I'm a fantasizer, and I'll just put, you know, I'm not writing from some off-the-wall weekly. The New Yorker is very solid. The editors of the New Yorker, my editor Dave Remnick and others, know who my sources are. In many cases, they've talked to my sources. This is one of the procedures at the New Yorker, very close fact-checking. It's not about their denying what I'm saying. It's about what these people have said to me. These are people inside, very much inside, who are very concerned about the policy. And something else that was in the story is that this White House will find a way to view what happened with the Israelis against Hezbollah as a victory. And they'll find a way to see it as a positive for any planning that is going on towards Iran. I'm not saying Iran's a done deal. What I'm saying is the idea fixé about Iran is almost as it was about in the first couple of years after 9/11 in the White House as about Iraq. These guys, the president, Cheney and others, want to go. It's very much on their minds. The nuclear weapons, whether they're there or not, are existential for this White House. This president does not want to leave the White House with that problem unsolved. And so therefore, encouraging and abetting the Israelis to go after Hezbollah. After all, you cannot attack Iran as long as Hezbollah has missiles. You have to get rid of those missiles, a potential deterrent, before you can go after Iran. That's the way they looked at it in the White House. I think it was something that really should be examined by a congressional committee. It's sort of time to decide whether we're a democracy or not. This president is doing an awful lot of foreign policy without sharing it with the rest of us.
Because what they're criticizing your sourcing, they're saying you're speaking to former government officials, former intelligence officers, consultants to the U.S. government. The sourcing doesn't seem to include any current officials who are intimately involved in this kind of planning.
Well, it does. I mean, there are current officials talking to me, and if you read the sourcing carefully, you'll see there are people, Middle East experts, you know, whether it's in or out of the government. You know, the bottom line is, it's not a question. You know, you and I have known each other a long time. Long of tooth we both are. I would not write something, and I understand this is going to be all over the Middle East. It is already, as far as I hear. And I understand the implications of the story. All of us do. And nobody's suggesting that Israel wouldn't have done what it did without the Americans. Israeli didn't need the White House to go after Hezbollah, but it's the idea that they got tremendous amount of support from this White House. That's the idea I'm trying to... Why do you think this president has spent almost 4.5 weeks doing nothing to get an immediate ceasefire, putting no pressure on the Israelis? It's all part of what they view as sort of a plan for what they want to do next. And it's not conspiratorial, it's simply the way it is.
Cy Hersh, writing in the New Yorker magazine, and appreciate it coming in, Cy. Always appreciate speaking with you. Thanks very much.
Great to be here.